Hello and welcome. My name is Adam, and today we'll be looking at some of the brick structures that make up a lot of the oldest architecture that we'll find in the United States. Even old Wild West towns have these structures made out of enormous amounts of bricks, and they seem to be built to perfection as they're still in use today. You can pick any old town in the US and you'll probably find some of these gloriously built brick structures that seem to contradict the narrative that we're told of these frontier towns just by the level of craftsmanship and skill that must have gone into building these things. Not to mention the labor of these fully built out towns at a time when we're told many people were just in survival. You can find examples of old maps of what is now the United States that are covered in buildings at a time when they shouldn't be there. And one interesting note is that these buildings are often colored red, which could be indicating brick structures. And one more example. Other researchers have gone deeper into this question as to whether it was even possible to source this amount of bricks at the time, and John Levy does a deep dive into it in his book. We're not going to get into that here, but it is interesting to consider. The sheer volume of these buildings all being put up around the same time in the late 1800s, early 1900s raises questions. We take for granted the quality of these structures and the fact that many of them are still in use today. Here's a look at one example of the many over-the-top insane asylums that were built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I will agree with them, these hospitals really are insane. Here's a look at the Utah State Insane Asylum in Provo, Utah. Another brick building built in 1885 and not seeming to match the narrative we're given. One aspect of this is that many of our old cities have buildings that are made of brick, but they've been facaded over. The sheer volume of bricks that would have been required to build out many of these cities is staggering, and all seeming to happen at about the same time. Here's a couple looks at some Salt Lake architecture. As you can see, oftentimes there's a facade in the front and you'll see the brick on the side. Some have suggested that some of what we consider to be natural geology are actually the remains of a cataclysmic reset. This goes beyond the scope of what I usually get into, but it's definitely interesting to consider. Anyway, that was the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.